Census records are a goldmine for genealogy research, but what happens when your ancestor is missing? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Howdy, welcome to Family History Fanatics. If you're new here, my name is Devin Noel Lee, and I love helping people find meaning and connections through their family trees. So now let's get into the video. Plenty of other records can help fill in those gaps and even give you details you'd never find in a census. So let's dive into 5 of my favorite alternatives to census records. I'll be honest, I overlooked these records for far too long. But once I discovered them, I realized just how much they can tell us beyond the standard population schedules. For example, I found my German ancestors in Franklin County, Ohio, agricultural schedules. It was incredible to see details about their farm, how much land they owned, their crops, and even the value of their livestock. It gave me a whole new perspective on their daily lives, but it was fun for comparison purposes to see how my ancestors compared to others in the area. Were my ancestors prosperous, about average, or poor? Another powerful use of these schedules was confirming an ancestor's death. If they passed away the year before a census, they may appear in the mortality schedule. That's a hidden gem right there. And let's not forget the 1890 Veterans Schedule, which is, in one sense, a population schedule, but it's a specific population segment. And if you're not fortunate enough to have your ancestors among the 6,000 or so names that survived the discretion of the 1890 census, then you'll want to look at this census. The number of clues in the veteran census is amazing. You may discover clues about your ancestor's death if their widow is listed instead of the veteran. You may find the ancestor living in a soldier homes, and so much more. Some of the most useful non-population census schedule includes the one shown here on the screen. Let me know which ones you have tried and what kind of success you've had. If I have to pick a favorite record set, besides photos, it would be city directories. I don't hide that at all. These are an absolute must if your ancestor lived in an urban area. If your ancestor lived in a rural area, look for county directories or rural route books as substitutes. City directories may track your ancestors yearly, while census record collections information every 10 years. So you can see where your ancestors lived, how often they moved, and all their occupation changes. If an ancestor disappears, a directory might list their spouse as a widow, hinting at when they passed away. But be careful. Some women preferred the title widow over divorced and may have conveniently killed off their ex-husbands on paper. In my research, I once used city directories to break down a brick wall. If you want to learn more, be sure to check out the videos I've linked in the description box. Tax records aren't always easy to access, but can be a genealogy wellspring when available. Government agencies needed to know the assessed values of property for property tax locations or taxable status of citizens in poll tax locations. Additionally, assessors needed to know who had paid their obligation or had become delinquent. Thus, tax assessments help us place our ancestors in a specific place and time. In certain areas, officials conducted tax assessments annually, allowing you to trace your ancestors more frequently than census records permit. One of my favorite discoveries came from Genesee County, Michigan tax records. Through these records, I confirmed Chester Ward's father, one of my maternal great-great-grandfathers. Want to dig deeper? I have 2 videos on tax records that might help. Be sure to check the link for those in the description box. For ancestors eligible to vote, voter registration lists can be an excellent substitute for census records. Some even provide a wealth of extra details. My friend Lisa Leilson introduced me to the Chicago voter registration records on Ancestry.com. Many voter lists I've found include only a name and residence, but this one was a plethora of details. It included name, residence, nativity, or where they were born, how long they lived in the precinct, county, and state, and naturalization details, including date and court, and whether they actually voted. Always check voting laws for the time and place you're researching. You might be surprised to find that women can vote in some areas much earlier than you expect. Another tip is to check out the Ancestor Hunt's voter registration resources. I love Ancestor's Hunt for newspapers, but they also have one for voter registrations. So be sure to check out that resource. Newspapers, the unpredictable treasure box of genealogy, and my second favorite genealogy record set. If you haven't checked them out yet, you're missing out. Newspapers can reveal many stories about your ancestors, some fascinating, some scandalous, and some downright shocking. I've found everything from a police officer getting, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, so figure out the action, to a socialite relative making waves in high society. And obituaries? Those can tell you not only where your ancestors live, but also the names and locations of their surviving relatives. Never underestimate the power of newspapers to put flesh on the bones of your research. If you're unsure where to start, I have plenty of videos about digging into newspapers, so be sure to look for the playlist that's linked in the description box. So there you have it, 5 fantastic alternatives to census records. If you hit a dead end in your research, try these sources. Have you used any of these census alternatives? Let me know in the comments section below. And if I've missed a census record alternative, be sure to share your tips and tricks for other viewers of this video. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more genealogy tips. Happy researching!